Good evening, everyone. It's Dr. Gameology coming straight from Dravania in Final Fantasy XIV, and we're doing Research Talk number 2. And for this one, we're actually going to talk about a conference presentation, and this one was delivered by me just a few months ago on behalf of Geek Therapeutics. And in this presentation, I was talking about how important it can be to learn from our video games by understanding our personality type and our motivation for playing specific kinds of games. So a lot of people in my field will focus on the dangers and the risks of playing video games because we wouldn't want them to melt our brains, right? Well, of course, video games don't melt our brains, and there are a lot of positives that people can learn and develop inside themselves by playing them. After all, education is just a video game where you turn in your quests on paper or in Google Drive, it turns out, and you level up by going to the next grade at the end of the year, and the bosses are the tests. So let's focus in on video games really quick. If you look at this chart is actually, in its origin, comes from a journal article that was published by Daria Kus and Mark Griffiths, and it was talking about how the structure of a video game can couple with the personality of the player and their motivation for playing, and if certain risk factors and predispositions like a mood disorder or like family difficulties or work-related struggles, then the person could actually end up having certain motivations like escape and developing a video game addiction at a higher rate than people who do not have those difficulties in their life. And it makes a lot of sense. But I was looking at that chart with all the negativity and the pathological terminology, and I decided, but what if it looks differently when we're focusing on the positives? After all, I decided to finish my doctorate because of video games in large part. I looked at academia like a challenge where if I invest the effort and I stick with it and I don't give up, I can accomplish something great. And that lesson I pretty much learned from the hardest difficulties in games like Devil May Cry and Mortal Kombat, a lot more than I remember learning them in middle school from my math teacher or science teachers. Sorry, people that taught me in the past, but Capcom actually gets more credit for what I became than many of my teachers in my past. So let's get back to the focus here. On this chart, we have the abilities and the potential of the person, and those are represented by their personality traits and what motivates them for playing games. After all, I'm playing Final Fantasy XIV right now with my friends. I'm motivated to have a good social time, help them level up, develop some of my skills in classes that I'm not used to playing, and move my story ahead in a forward direction so eventually I can reach endgame. Those are the motivations that are driving me right now, and my personality type has a good balance of wanting to achieve, but also to be socially gratified by the game I'm playing, and an MMORPG offers a lot of those things. In the arrow that takes me over to my sense of empowerment and enjoying the process of playing the game, you can see the cognitive processes and the decision making that I've been making while I'm playing. I don't pay attention to a lot of the word-based dialogue, but when there are voice cutscenes, I sit there and listen. I look at those as the real opportunity to understand the story, and the text-based interactions are just a reason to justify that I'm doing this quest where I will go kill 7 enemies in the wilderness and come back and say, I succeeded, and they'll say, yes, you did, and then I will get experience points. Experience points are what are driving me there, not the story. Those are my cognitive processes. Those are my decisions that I made. And then we'll group up for the duty finder and we'll play a group quest together. Those are the social factors again. That arrow from abilities and potential to empowerment processes lets you see my play style. And my play style is pretty much the same in work life and in family. I want to do things where I am of benefit to the people around me. And I also want to succeed. And I like to interact with people in situations where they see my success and they benefit from it. I learn from them and they learn from me. So we have all of these dynamics going on from a video game, but it very easily blends into all the areas of my life. It's the way that I read books and watch television shows. It's the way that I answer emails and make phone calls. It's the way that I sit down and relax, and the way that I sit down at my computer to focus on things that I believe really matter. Those are the things that I personalize from myself into the activities I participate in. And our final column here are the strategies and outcomes that we learn. Because of games like Final Fantasy XIV, or I mentioned the Devil May Cry series and Mortal Kombat specifically, but also so many matter to me, like Resident Evil and really any game from the Final Fantasy genre. I learn about myself every time I play, but I have the ability now to believe in myself, which comes from games and from academia and from my friends and my supervisors and my family, and also the ranks and levels that I accrue in games. And so because I'm paying attention to all of that, and I'm seeing myself as me in the game, but the me in the game is the me out here too. And my ability to enjoy and achieve and be a benefit to those around me is my personalized play style. And I do my very best to make sure I do it in here, but also out here. And so if I'm able to pull that off, that's where I get my sense of achievement. This chart just described me, but my hope is that by looking at it and listening to me break down all the pieces and all the terminology in this chart, you start to understand what drives you to love the games you love, the play styles that you enjoy. What do you like? Is it the immersion of the world? Like these Moogles just bouncing all over the screen while I talk about this PowerPoint? Is it the quests and the ability to achieve and conquer large obstacles and slay the dragons in your life? Or is it the people that you meet in the game? Or some combination of all of the above? And so there are many positive things that we interact with when we play games. And I just hope by thinking about this with me tonight, you're able to notice how a couple of those make an appearance IRL, in real life. Video games are real too, but it's so much more fun to learn from them and bring all of those skills and abilities out here, and then see what kind of warrior of light we truly can become. Thank you, everybody, and if you enjoyed this message, I hope you'll tune in more to watch me stream games like Final Fantasy XIV, do some mental health moments, and have a good time with my audience. So, one last quest to pass on to all of you. Continue the journey.